Today we have a very exciting topic, and we're talking about protecting cloud assets, which is a big topic. And I think it's probably the biggest topic other than AI, and AI affects almost everything, but it isn't a specific threat. But however, protecting your cloud assets is a very specific and high priority task for all companies, and it's probably one that's been under invested in. So today we'll be talking about that. We've got myself, Tom Ruffalo. I've been CISA with eSecurity Solutions. I will be doing an introduction. We have Chris Wilson and Jason Twomley from Fortinet, who will also be presenting. They'll be presenting the bulk of the content and with a focus on Fortinet's perspective. And so I will do an initial introduction and cover the general threat landscape, and then we will turn it over to Chris. And overall, we have at least 3 areas that we have to protect related to the cloud. We have the private public cloud, which we're talked about, which basically means we've lost control at some level, but we've moved everything out. We think we have some security. Maybe we have enough, maybe we don't. Certainly remote worker risks exist, and we've been dealing with that since COVID. So it's really been since 2020 where that's been a big focus and for companies, but it still continues, and whether or not we invested or not is another question. And that applications moving to the cloud. The one thing that's true for sure is that cloud assets are sort of by definition easier to attack. They're distributed. They're not necessarily protected by our own infrastructure. They might be harder to protect. And the other part of that is that they provide more attack targets. So you now have everything distributed, and conceptually that should be something that worries, I think, everybody. We'll just look at remote workers. You've really got 2 focuses, right? One is what everybody seems to think about when it comes to remote workers is protecting the users. I would assert that the majority of the problem and the concern that companies have and should have is about protecting the company, because these remote workers can access the data, potentially store it remotely or at their location or elsewhere, maybe in some other cloud, and the concern should be you're losing control, and that they're accessing servers and data in your private, your public cloud, even on-prem, your applications, cloud applications, and also data can be stored on site. And protecting the users, sure, that's important, but the reality is, as a company, we're concerned about protecting our data. And so there are 4 concerns which we talked about, and then the solutions. There's a lot of different solutions that are required to adequately address protecting remote users, and probably more than most people think about. But certainly endpoint security, SASE solutions we're going to talk about today, email security, access control, and even monitoring and detect of attacks and threats. So when it comes to securing the cloud application data, we see everything moving to the cloud. The cloud applications include all the ones listed here with applications that house key financial data, HR, and customer data. And it's not just the data, but access to the accounts that we have to be concerned about. If attackers can access your payroll, your bank, your HR, your financial apps, which they do find ways to do, then they can access your money, and they can redirect your payroll to their own accounts. So it's pretty scary, really, and it certainly, I think, deserves a lot of focus by companies. And we can see what the threats are there. I mean, lack of visibility is the first thing that you think of, like you don't really know what's happening. And solutions like CASB can give you that access to the visibility, usage control, and more security, which is really the goal. And there's really nothing else that's designed to do that specific task. You still need things like MFA to secure access control, and your employees need to be trained, and there are other things, but those are all things that we should be thinking about. When it comes to private and public cloud, I think the focus today by vendors is on SASE, because it's a new technology, but SASE technically ignores private and public cloud in most definitions. So we need to think about both, and this is why my topic for this event was securing assets in the cloud. It wasn't on just SASE, but it's how do we protect all the assets in the cloud? And protecting your private and public cloud is very important. You know, Amazon and Microsoft don't do that. There's a shared responsibility model, which everybody should be aware of by now, where they protect their infrastructure. They don't protect your data. So we are completely on the hook to protect our data, however you configured it and implemented it. And you still need things like workload protection and virtual firewalls, and you still have to do like third-party risk assessments and things like that. And there's new tools like cloud security posture management, which can give you visibility and monitor what's going on. And then you still have, you still have to back up your data and monitor all that. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. From our point of view, we provide one-stop security for businesses, right? Our goal is to be your single security resource, and that, focusing on risk assessments or GRC services, security products, managed security, MDR, and we're really trying to help customers regardless of what your journey is. If it's compliance, we're all in for that. If it's sort of best practices, we want to help you with that. If it's just basic security, we can help you define where you have the biggest holes, and you can try to attack and address that. But again, our goal is to be your single source to do all of that. And with that, then I'd like to, and of course we work with all of these vendors, and Fortinet being one of our prominent partners, and has been for 15 years at least. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chris.
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you for having us today, and thank you for using us as a strategic partner of yours. We appreciate the work. My name is Chris Wilson. I am a Strategic Alliance Director here with Fortinet. Fancy name for an overlay for our SASE, or Unified SASE product. And today I'll be sharing with you our FortiSASE solution, okay? Come on, move forward. So real quick, for those of you that are new, real quick to Fortinet, about who we are, right? If you don't know who Fortinet is, Fortinet was founded over 20 years ago in Sunnyvale, California, has a large integrated portfolio of over 50 products. A couple key stats from this slide, we'll move on. Massive install base of customers, over 830,000. We finished out 2024 with over $6.5 billion in total billings. Fortinet is still run to this day by our original co-founders, Ken Z and Michael Z. Financially stable company, large investments with a broad portfolio for endpoints, cloud products, with stuff that Tom was talking about just now. Something's very unique to us is our vertical integration. We don't not only have our own cybersecurity products, we also own our own operating system. So we'll talk a lot about the OS and how important that is into our converged unified SASE story. So all that success gets you recognized sometimes. And this last year, we were ranked by Forbes as being the most trusted cybersecurity company in the US. That's great news for us. And that covers a bunch of organizations, millions of organizations around the world, everything from financial services, retail, manufacturing, education, healthcare, across the board, do very well in those sectors of business for us. So for us, Fortinet, right, our fortified platform is split into 3 areas. The first 2 are convergence, and that's the secure networking, securing every edge, mainly through appliances powered by our ASICs. And then there's unified SASE, which I'll be covering here in a second. Again, convergence, but more of a hybrid, hosted in the cloud and offered as a service, whereas you're securing user access to the network and applications. And then lastly, we have our AI-driven security operations. Those are a plethora of products that help us support our SecOps type of platforms to kind of enhance the SecOps platform for us. So before we jump into SASE, the details of it, it's important to understand why the architecture of SASE is gaining so much attention today. So we got this rapid growth, and Tom mentioned it, right? A huge adoption of SaaS, multi-cloud is out there, right? Visibility control, there's a lack of it today to see and secure access and protect that data. Up to 70% of a company's applications today are going to be SaaS-based, right? They're going to be in the cloud, SaaS-based companies. The estimate is that they're moving those to about 85. I know me, for instance, for a Fortinet employee, almost all of my applications are SaaS-based applications, right? So this is huge, right? Leaving the question, why would you have a remote user VPN all the way back to a data center just to go right back out to the internet? So SASE is really cool, and we'll talk about reasons why. Given that 16% of these companies are remote, and we talked about the pandemic a little bit here, they're no longer 100% remote, right? We're no longer solving pandemic issues and the hybrid workforce. They've now come home and they've now moved out, right? So a lot of people are moving back to the office. So we need a hybrid solution, not just an all-in SSE solution. You need hybrid solutions like a SASE solution to help you with that. And then lastly, as you mentioned, zero trust. A lot of you responded in that poll. I saw that look to do zero trust, and that's definitely something that is fantastic. It's a great goal. Transitioning from that implicit to explicit access for applications is definitely essential, and SASE is definitely included. It's part of the solution, and it's a great way to get your start in building those zero trust policies in place for your users. All right, so to give you a better idea, let's kind of framework the technology. For those who don't understand SASE, I'll kind of roll it back a little bit. Looking at it, you have your on-net policy, right? So this is a hybrid SASE type of solution. So you have SASE, you have your on-net security policy over here on the left. This is where your security inspection, which includes your application aware, your access, your normal traditional access route security. We'll call it on-net policy. And then over to the right here, you have cloud hosted security. So that's more of an SSE solution. This is the security that provides that off-net policy and control for security inspection. So the combination of these two, which is usually referred to SSE and SD-WAN, that's what gives you that SASE. So from a pictorial view, I like to show this just to kind of get an idea of what on-net and off-net security inspection looks like. So SASE has kind of evolved, right? Historically here in 2018, back when Gartner came out, it's evolved from a fragmented, that manual solutions to a unified single vendor approach to simply securing the network, right? Many organizations are still dealing with these legacy architectures that create what we call operational efficiencies and potentially security gaps. So in 2018, it was basic, multiple vendors. There's a lack of centralized management, inconsistent security enforcement, and a lot of higher costs due to multiple point products. Fast forward to where we are today in 2025, SASE's kind of evolved into that unified, which you're seeing. People are, we're unified, everybody's unified. It's a single vendor approach, a single vendor applying a single solution, reducing that complexity, giving you that single visibility, that single administration window, right? Of all that security integration, SD-WAN, ZTNA, secure web gateway. So if you look at the approach, right, the advantages of our approach, that single OS advantage is single management, unified console, right? Centralized logging, universal ZTNA, super simple, quick, and simple implementation because it's from a single vendor, right? We also, a huge advantage is the fact that we use our own eSecurity. Our hardware acceleration ensures that high performance. We do support MSSPs, multi-tenant environments. We also have, if you don't know what sovereign SASE is, it provides its own compliance, regional data regulations type of SASE environment to carve out your own SASE environment. And we also have simplest licensing in the industry right now. Super simple bundled licensing. Excuse me. So what are we seeing for the most part? We talked about some of these is why are people looking at SASE, right? The one that we're seeing the most is this migration to zero trust. Oh, SASE has zero trust in it. I can start putting policies in place. I can do ZTNA tagging right away with SASE. Great. That's definitely an area we're seeing. Another internet is browsing the internet. It's a VPN replacement for a lot of folks, rather than having their customers, which I always say, VPNs are elective security policy and SASE is a mandatory security policy. So I see a lot of need for safe browsing. But you also have some other stuff. We talked about SaaS earlier. Tom mentioned SaaS, that overcoming shadow IT, managing those SaaS applications, maybe looking at DLP, data protection. All of that is included with a type of a CASB solution. So we'll see a lot of folks choosing SASE for that. And then lastly, consolidating multiple vendors. You get a lot of products that simply bundled together with a SASE solution. So what does it look like? A SASE POP is essentially that concept of moving the stack of networking services that you have at the edge, right? That's moving them to multiple locations within the cloud. So FortiSASE is 100% based off of our next generation firewall platform. And each point of presence that we do deploy encompasses a full stack of security services. That's a firewall as a service, secure web gateway, CASB, DLP, all of those functions come within the FortiSASE solution. It offers that flexible connectivity option for remote users. You see on the left-hand side, remote users, thin branch solutions, all within a zero trust framework that gives you connectivity to your internet, SaaS, public cloud, and private cloud. One point I want to bring up is thin edge. One thing that is kind of unique to Fortinet, our access points and our Forti extenders can offload traffic to a SASE location for comprehensive security inspection at scale. So any device behind those connected devices are automatically connected into SASE, right? So for example, we have a Forti AP, a 23JF. That particular a device we deployed in an oil field out in Midland, Texas. This AP provided capabilities because it onboarded that PoE port and the gig and Ethernet ports, right? The customer can leverage the SASE backend for a complete unified threat management while still powering PoE phones, printers, and allowing oilfield operators and users connect via the Wi-Fi and secured SSID, all managed by the FortiSASE. So we're seeing a lot of really good uses for our remote devices that leverage our thin branch deployments, like a remote trailer, or even moving vehicles today can be on the SASE network. Move. So with our FortiClient agent, it's a very powerful agent of ours that we use. We use it for pretty much everything, right? That comes with the FortiSASE solution. So this is part of the consolidation piece. We're not just providing SASE access to SASE features over here, the secure access side, but also we're bundling unique capabilities such as endpoint protection to ZTNA, as well as what we call digital experience monitoring, or DEM. This one agent, simplified deployment, but more importantly, a single solution for those customers looking to consolidate that vendor sprawl. One of the use cases that make SASE being probably one of the most appealing deployment is just that vendor consolidation. So here's a look at our POP map, our infrastructure. We have a strong emphasis on investing in our FortiSASE POP infrastructure. We've got about 3 million square feet of POP footprint that we directly own, and it's not outsourced. FortiSASE service is deployed across Fortinet-owned DCs, as well as an agreement or partnership that we have with Google Cloud Platform. So our strategy is to keep enhancing Fortinet-owned point of presence, which will continue to give us that full control of the entire stack, providing better ROI for our customers, and that partnership is there partly with Google, right? 150 locations, full stack, low latency, high SLA, and that turns out to be a really, really good experience for our remote users. So the three use cases that we hear a lot, if you talk to our competitors that are out there, they use similar acronyms like ZIA or ZPA, stuff like that. So we have three use cases here, right? So we call them SIA, secure internet access, securing the internet access from our users, secure SaaS access, it gives you that SaaS control, and that secure private access. So that's where when you want to backhaul that traffic, or remote traffic, back to a private data center, whether that be a private data center or public cloud or private cloud location. Those are the three areas where we'll consolidate. This is a view of what that looks like. You've got your remote users, maybe you're using the thin edge with APs, connecting to a SASE POP and going out to the internet. So just a visual description of what that SASE connection looks like. I went a step further and kind of wanted to build out what the traffic looks like, what it looks like when I'm leveraging a fully deployed Fortinet solution, right? So in this case, I've got a fully deployed Fortinet infrastructure in this case. Sorry about that. I got something on my screen. Fully deployed fully deployed Fortinet infrastructure. I've got Fortinet SD-WAN deployed, and I've got Fortinet gates. But what you can really see here is my off-net user. So my off-net user, as well as I'm showing here in a thin edge, thin branch in this case, maybe it's using a FortiExtend or it could be using AP. I'm establishing my SSL connection to one of my POPs, right? So with our licensing, you get to connect to multiple POPs. In this case, I'm just going to show one here, but this is where that certification, and if you're using ZTNA, that's where your checks, your system checks, the user checks are occurring before that user is granted an SSL packet or connectivity, or maybe you get a certificate for ZTNA. Before you even hit that, your machine is checked for identity as well as compliance, and once you do get connected to the SASE network. You can see where that connection is made from the SASE POP and our peering agreements with our CSP partners. Quick, efficient user access to those SaaS applications, where we talk about 75% of customers, our enterprises are using SaaS. So why go all the way back? So rather than backhaul this back to that data center just to go back out to the internet, I'm going directly to the internet provider for my SaaS applications through the SASE POP. So that's huge. Better user performance for the end user. One of the things is this is built out, so you'll see that it will still leverage like on-prem. We call it our hybrid unified SASE solution for a reason. There's no reason to send HQ and office traffic to a SASE POP. They already have security inspection locally leveraging the FortiGate. The same. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're cutting out. Chris, you cut out.
Can you hear me still? I know.
Okay.
Damn. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
I'll keep going. I keep seeing there's a problem with bandwidth. So anyway, one thing, I'll fill this thing out one more time here. So if I click on this, one thing I do want to point out, which is kind of unique to us that we can do with our ZTNA. So once you start deploying ZTNA, because we're hybrid, because we have the Forti client loaded on our machines, our remote users, we can establish a ZTNA connection. We'll access directly. We can go through the POP, through SD-WAN. We can make our connection across ZTNA through the SD-WAN connection to our approved applications, as you can see, but we can also make a direct connection going through our ISP that we're connected to and making a direct separate tunnel for each connection to the approved application that we're allowed to get to. That it also improves a user experience because it reduces that latency. We don't have to go through the POP. A lot of other solutions in the market today require that ZTNA traffic to always traverse through a SASE POP. With us, we don't. We're going to leverage that FortiGate that's next in the data center, or maybe in this case, you also see up top, it's in maybe in AWS, we have a FortiGate VM that's acting as that access proxy to make that split tunnel connection for us. As soon as we're done accessing the application, the tunnel goes down. Really simple, really solution. We love our hybrid solution, and this is just a really good way to show it using this diagram here. A lot of people say, what does it look like? I would love to do a demo for every one of you, but it's very difficult to do a demo online live in a webinar. So we're going to show you a few screenshots, right? Super simple. All these services come from what we call FortiCloud. Simplifies administration from a single pane of glass. So I'll show you a few examples here in a second, but if you're already familiar, any of you already have ever worked with FortiOS before, you will notice that it has the same exact look and feel as if you're managing one of our FortiGate appliances. And in this view here, you're looking at a customizable dashboard providing visibility to the status of health, maybe your licensing, your endpoint status, and your bandwidth monitoring. And this here is a asset map, right? Allowing an administrator to drill down, a very small asset map here, but if you're a larger company, you'd see just dots everywhere. This allows an administrator to drill down on a remote user to gain connectivity insights from the application all the way down to the endpoint, if you were. And then lastly, we have a security view. This is a view from administrator. Can drill down on any of the alerts that they see on the screen for those insights, and if critical, make the necessary security policy adjustments. So super simple from a single console to manage all of your environment, as well as you can generate reports for leadership or just for status reports. Now, my favorite piece, talk about a little bit more in licensing, but digital experience monitoring, or otherwise known as DEM, right? This is really cool stuff. This is the secret sauce that gives the full picture view on where a problem can be when users complain about a problem, slowness, or accessing an application, right? Typically in such cases, they blame the network, but the problem could be multifold, right? Could be multiple things. One issue could be that the SASE application itself is having some issues, or the problem could be midstream with an intermittent outage of some sort, or it could be neither. The user has a problem with their own device, with their own machine, high CPU, maybe high memory, and the user just needs to address the machine locally, right? So DEM provides you that first mile, last mile, end-to-end view of what's going on from the user when they're calling into your operations center for help. So really cool product. I completely hope, if you're familiar with a little bit about Fortinet products, FortiMonitor. That's a lot of the products that we use in FortiSASE come from our own chest of solutions that we have. In this case, we leverage FortiMonitor. And while I'm on the subject, we can talk about FortiAnalyzers built into the things. So FortiGate, FortiAnalyzer, FortiMonitor, a lot of Forti names, but that gives us the power at Fortinet with this product that I see for us to continue to build on it and add new features and functions from all of the rest of our security fabric that allows us to grow the product as the customers or as the industry needs or changes. I said I'd talk about licensing. I think we're still good on my time. Licensing, if you can still hear me, I still get these pop-ups. I apologize on the volume, so, or the microphone. So when we began, this is kind of a look at a screenshot. We are bundled, right? We bundle our licensing. When we began planning for FortiSASE, our main goal was simplicity. Not just with configurations, the management console, but also with licensing. Other competitors provide complex, maybe a la carte models. We've heard that. So we wanted to ensure that we did not repeat that. So with us, all FortiSASE features are available under our standard bundle. We also include some additional, in all of our bundles, we include ZTNA and EPP within our bundle for free as part of the SASE licenses. And this allows us to help deliver that. When we show numbers of 3 to 5x lower TCO than our competitors, this is how we do it. We do it through licensing. Real quick, if you were to take a look at our license, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I always want to point out that you get 3 devices per user with our standard user license. So a user has a notebook, a phone, or maybe an iPad. All 3 devices would be taken care of. Fortinet FortiCare Premium 24/7 support is included. And to see here what else. So I'll look at these. Most everything that you would require from a SASE can be done in our standard licensing, right? You've got everything you see there: SWG, FortiClient, ZTNA, CASB, DLP, Sandbox. That's all included standard. I always position the advanced. The advanced gives you the DEM, the digital experience monitoring. Also has endpoint forensics, so it's another good thing. The only difference I was pointing out here is the pink area, the professional and comprehensive. There are 2 other models here, 2 other licensing levels, and those just happen to do with our Google Cloud location. So if our normal area, where you saw that map I showed earlier, doesn't show in an area where you might have a global presence, most people on this call will never need these 2. They'll just stay within the standard advanced licensing and be just fine. So I just point them out because we do have them. And then one thing I'll really quick point out, if you are a Fortinet customer, if you're interested in Fortinet, we do offer what we now recently have, a SASE expansion bundle. So we have for our FortiGates 120G, we have some larger ones there, but mostly the 120, so the 120Gs, we do have a expansion bundle. This is pretty much like a demo, like so just to give it a try and before you buy type of kit. We do offer these now for our customers, and they're available. So if you're already a customer, inquire with Tom about looking at one of these trials to give SASE a try. Real quick, really proud to be recognized from our SD-WAN perspective. We are fantastic at SD-WAN. What really sets us apart here in this, what I like this slide the most is that we're the only vendor to leverage the same operating system across our SD-WAN and our SSE solutions. So being featured in Magic Quadrant while maintaining a unified approach speaks to the strength and unique perspective of our strategy. Really proud of that. Real quick, just some customer examples where we play, in case you were one of these. We can scale up and down from some smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, to these really large locations, right? Large retail chain, huge amount of locations. We got hospitals. We do manufacturing, and probably one of the largest deployments, if not that, retail location I just showed you, massive. One of the largest school districts in North America runs off of Fortinet, as well as has deployed FortiSASE. So we can scale. Scalability is definitely not an issue. I definitely always like to point out some customer references, and here's a couple, and we can give you all the details to what these are, and maybe they're a match for what you guys do today. So as I wrap up my portion of this, I definitely went through it a little bit quicker than I thought I would. FortiSASE here, right? FortiSASE offers that unified platform, outstanding security efficacy, super simple, clear bundled pricing, cloud scale performance. All of these contribute to its position as, we believe, a leader in delivering the best TCO for what we call our SSE solutions, right? It's comprehensive, flexible, cost efficient approach really makes securing access and operations in really this complex environment that we see ourselves in, because things are changing, as we talked about, going all the cloud solutions, cloud deliverable solutions, users are disparate and they're all over the place. SASE helps tame that pretty easily, pretty seamlessly.
Bottom line is, Fortinet has a very broad perspective about cloud security, and you guys are way ahead of almost everybody. If what I want the people on this call to understand is that, first of all, there's a process for helping you understand what you need. There are solutions that are targeted at your environment, and I want everybody to be aware that these are threats that you need to be addressing over time, and sooner rather than later. These solutions overall have been available for a while. I think they're just now getting to the point where they're being democratized, so that pretty much everybody can afford to buy them and should. So, we'd love to work with each of you to help you assess your risk, define where your gaps are, and prioritize the solution that makes sense for you, and find solutions that work within your environment and your budget, and then help you acquire, implement, and manage those. That's really our job. That's what we do. And I just want to make sure that I appreciate everybody's attendance today. Thank you very much for coming. We will follow up with you to see what your needs are and how we can help you specifically. And appreciate your time today. I hope you all have a great day, and thanks very much for coming.